And just want to revisit last year. Again, just really proud of our team. What a special year! So many good things. Finish number two, and today's about trying to get to number one.
Well, look who is back. It seemed like we were just talking to Dabo Swinney about playing for the national championship a few weeks ago, and the Tigers are back. They have put the cleats back on, not the full pads yet, but at least they've got the pants and the jerseys and the cleats and the helmets on. Spring practice at Clemson beginning today. Can you believe it? The Tigers will get in some practices before their spring break, and we'll hear from Dabo Swinney tonight. Welcome into Sports Talk on this Monday night. Good to be with you. We have made the ride down the coast from Myrtle Beach to Hilton Head here today for the annual RBC Heritage Media Day, golf outing for the media. And I tell you what, guys, this is a slice of heaven in South Carolina. There is no question about it. This is a beautiful, beautiful area. It's even more beautiful and pristine this year because they have totally redone the golf course in terms of grass. Complete new grass, fairways, and rough and greens. It is absolutely beautiful. And by the time the pros roll into here in April, well, first of all, the course will be fully recovered from today's damage. And secondly, it will be in absolute fantastic shape. Defending champion Jim Furyk was here today. We'll hear from him later. And Steve Wilmot from here at the Heritage will join us as well. K-Mac and the Pro back in our studios. Other things, guys, of course, basketball, March Madness, beginning with tournaments this week. Clemson plays tomorrow night. And the Gamecocks, K-Mac, pretty ugly loss for them on Saturday.
Yeah, tough loss for them, as Frank Martin pointed out, and we'll hear from him later in the show. They, in his mind, didn't play poorly. They just missed some uncontested layups. He said 9 when they reviewed the film, 9 uncontested layups that they missed, and you do the math, they make half of those. They make all of them. It's 18. It's half of them, 9 points, and he said they gave up about 4 uncontested defensive breakdown baskets on the other end, and that's the difference in a game when you're on the road. And even Mississippi State, not one of the top-tier teams in the SEC, but a team under Ben Howland in his first year that is playing better, and they have some good players. Sword is a very good player for them, and they gave USC a pretty tough game at Colonial Life earlier in the year. So I think Frank Martin kind of shakes his head at everybody that hits the panic button corn every time they lose a game. Everybody jumps off the Gamecock bandwagon, forgetting the fact that this team is having its best season in about 2 or 3 decades.
And of course, Mississippi State came in that game as a 1-point favorite, if you believe it or not, because they've won something like 4 out of their last 5.
Yep. All right, we'll have that coming up for you. Swinney and more from Harbortown and Columbia. Back in a moment. Okay.
Good. We ready to roll? All right. Well, first of all, just good to be back on the grass today. Really thankful for a beautiful day here in Clemson to get back to football. And, just want to revisit last year. Again, just really proud of our team. What a small, just good to be, just good to be back. Good to be back on the grass today. Really, he's not going to actually practice, but he'll be out there coaching and encouraging, and I give them that feedback. They need to be challenged that way and we just removed school and football. it's a different situation with Deion. We just kind of removed football, and now Guillermo is in fact, this team, I always do a thing with the team every spring, and we kind of start over. Continues to do those things, and I'm not worried about the football side of Deion Kane.
You mentioned Deion in that list. Is he doing the things you?
We got a lot of work to do. I'm excited about the team, and just getting back to the details and the nuts and bolts of who we are, and starting over. So with that, I'll take y'all's questions.
Dabo, you mentioned Deion in that,
and starting over.
Dabo Sweeney 2-29. Samson Niu. It's a Monday edition of Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornblut from Harbortown, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes from our studios in downtown Columbia. Happy Leap Day to you. So we get an extra day of Sports Talk for you this year, an extra day of our insight, our knowledge, our charisma, an extra day for you to hear from people, and an extra day of recruiting. How about that? As if 365 days are not enough for recruiting. We get 366 days of recruiting this year. K-Mac, I can just tell that you're shaking with excitement over that.
Really am. I'm living right. I swear I must have done something good, and those good deeds are now being taken care of. I'm reaping what I've sown here in my life.
I actually have 352 days of recruiting because I take 2 weeks off from.
Well, you're lucky if you get to do that. 800-956-7266. What are your thoughts from over the weekend? Of course, baseball. A weekend, and by the way, really enjoyed our stay in Myrtle Beach, baseball at the beach. Bob Callahan, another great job by Bob and his folks. Coach Gary Gilmore in Coastal Carolina. In fact, they're playing Ohio State today. We'll give you an update on that score here in a little bit. Another great job by them. Beautiful place, the park at Coastal Carolina, and enjoyed the baseball there. And now you know what's coming up this weekend. USC and Clemson, of course, swept their series over the weekend, and both have midweek games this week. USC goes to the Citadel. Clemson plays Wofford. And then the big showdown between the Gamecocks and the Tigers in baseball. Going to be a little different this year, you know. There's no Ray Tanner. There's no Jack Leggett. It's all Chad Holbrook and Monty Lee. They're the ones in charge now. And our poll question on our website, sportstalksc.com, who wins the Clemson-USC baseball series? If you have not had a chance to vote, do so. USC out to the early lead in the voting, 84% to 16%. Who do you think will win the series between USC and Clemson. This is also worth a point in the Palmetto series, the year-long athletic and academic and I guess we should say fundraising series between USC and Clemson, because there was a food drive involved as well. And South Carolina is leading Clemson head-to-head in that series right now. So this baseball series will count as well in that competition. So
Just
go
one-
vote on the website.
Just 1 point, not a point for each game.
I believe that's a good question. I believe it's 1 point for the series winner,
Gotcha.
but I'll have to double check that to be sure. But I think that's the case.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Because there's going to be a series winner. They play 3 games, so one team is going to come away. There won't be any tie, any split like that. So I'll double check, but I think that's the case. 800-956-7266. What do you think about the series? Clemson football going to spring practice. K-Mac, we'll hear from Dabo coming up, but I'm sure he addressed some issues with the football program, some personnel issues and things of that nature. What notes did you glean from that today?
Yeah, the main notes in terms of personnel issue, Mike Williams is back. He's going to practice. He's going to wear green, though. They're not going to tackle him to the ground. They're going to be cautious with him as he comes back from a broken neck that he suffered on the first drive of the season last year when he scored a touchdown against Wofford, and that was his only touchdown of the year and his only drive of the year, as it turned out. So he's back, but not practicing at full speed in terms of contact. And Deon Cain is doing things with the team, but not all the way back with the team yet. Between the lines, he's not practicing with the team, but he is working himself out of the doghouse and back into the good graces, but not all the way back with the team just yet.
Mm-hmm. All right. I heard a little bit of the audio, too, when I was preparing it for the show. He mentioned something in there about Jay Guillermo. Is there something going on with him, or is he just talking about him?
I didn't get through the whole thing. That came down a little bit after 4 as we were putting our sportscast together. So I was just getting through some of it. Dabo, it takes a little time, as you know, Corn, to get through all of Dabo's comments, because he goes for about, I think he's talking again here in about 20 minutes after practice. They're scheduled to have interviews after practice today. So we might get even more Dabo.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll check some notes and see if there's anything more to pass along. We'll hear from Dabo coming up at the bottom of the hour. All right. Some other key things to pass along to you from this afternoon. And first of all, what a weekend for USC catcher John Jones. Collegiate Baseball named him National Player of the Week, and my goodness, deservedly so. He reached base all 14 times that he had an official plate appearance against Penn State. 8 for 8, 6 walks. So everything's 1,000 for him. 1,000 batting average, 1,000 on-base percentage, 4 for 4 with a homer and 4 RBIs in the series opener against the Nittany Lions. Then he had a grand slam and a single and 4 walks on Saturday. And then yesterday, 3 for 3 and a walk and a 4-2 win. His start is incredible, guys. He's batting .593, 3 homers, 11 runs scored, 19 RBIs. Let's see, 19. He's on track for about, 100 RBIs or something. It's incredible.
I think at some point he reached base 17 straight times. He's going to start doing, like, who's the guy's name for the Red Sox? Wade Boggs, and just figure out what he ate for dinner and then just eat the same thing every day. What was it? Wade Boggs, I think, ate
Kentucky
chicken.
Fried Chicken or something, a bucket of it.
Ate chicken every day.
If you put it up on a tee and you get on base 14 straight times, that's incredible. To do it in a Power 5 series, that's amazing stuff. And the Gamecocks, great start. They needed to get off to a good start. They need to get some good momentum. It is early. They haven't played big-time competition yet, Corn, but they are getting some nice pieces from different guys out there. Destino had a big weekend, too. I think he had a 7 RBI day. Was that Friday or Saturday? He had 4 hits and drove in 7 runs. I think he had a grand slam as well. So they have some guys that are really swinging the bat well right now, and a lot of different guys. They're not just counting on one guy, and they're getting really good pitching.
And I think equally important, Corn, is I think over the weekend what came back, they only committed, I think, 3 or 4 errors. So the defense, what gets me last year is when it got leaky, the team started to leak oil. Even if they don't hit well, South Carolina's always been able to win ball games because of their strong defense. So if they can get back to that with added offense, then that's all to the good.
Well, one thing we'll know for USC and Clemson is this weekend they're going to see top-line pitching both ways, really for the first time this season. So we'll see a little bit more about what each has. But the pitching is off to a good start both ways, and both teams will be able to throw their what is lined up right now to be their conference weekend starting rotation. That's the beauty of the series, the way it's set up right now. It'll be in Columbia on Friday night at 7 o'clock, then at Fluor Field in Greenville at 2 o'clock, and Clemson will be the home team for that game on Saturday. And then Sunday up at Doug Kingsmore Stadium will be the finale. So always a great event. To me, it's moved right up there, not as big as football, but it certainly has moved right up there with one of the special sporting weekends in South Carolina. I know not as many people get to go to it as the football and basketball games, but it's still a very, very special sporting weekend, and it brings out a lot of passion in the fans, especially when the teams are going well. And right now, the two teams are going well. The new baseball polls this week by Baseball America, and Coastal Carolina remains 19th. By the way, Chanticleers are trailing Ohio State 2-1 in the seventh inning of their game today over in Conway. Florida's number one, followed by Texas A&M, Oregon State, Louisville, and Vanderbilt. In collegiate baseball, USC has broken into that ranking at number 18 this week after their good start. And so the Gamecocks are in that poll. And the Coastal Carolina is not in the collegiate baseball ranking. And Florida's number one, followed by Vandy, Texas A&M, Louisville, and Miami. The USA Today coaches poll, and USC breaks into the ranking at number 23 and is the only state team ranked. Again, Florida, Louisville, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, and LSU, the top teams there. We'll be right back. We come to you tonight from the Players Lounge Inside the brand new players' locker room here at the clubhouse at Harbor Town. This is a completely refurbished clubhouse with a beautiful locker room and players' lounge. We're upstairs. We're looking out over the first tee and looking down the ninth fairway. By the way, I know you didn't ask, but on the ninth fairway today, I hit a bomb. I mean, I drove it, well, let's just say I was down there where the pros would be. Now, of course, they would tee up 30, 40 yards behind where we were teeing up. But I literally bombed my drive down there, K-Mac. So chew on that.
Chewing away.
Played with the pro, John Farrell, here at Harbor Town. Great guy. Boy, he can hit it. He can flat out knock it a country mile. So we had a great time, beautiful day, beautiful course, and always one of the highlights of the spring, kind of a sign that spring is really here when we have the Heritage Media Day, getting ready for the Heritage, the 48th annual RBC Heritage coming here to Harbor Town in April, the weekend after the Masters. 800-956-7266, the number. A couple of other things to pass along to you. The folks at Vanderbilt going to have to cough up more money to the SEC. SEC announcing today, you know, Vanderbilt should be used to beating Kentucky. You don't have to storm the court every time you beat Kentucky. But they did it again on Saturday. And so now, Vandy has to cough up $100,000, a second offense under the league's rule for prohibiting fans from entering the playing competition.
Well, you know, they've got some well-heeled graduates that can chip in. Yeah, I really would say this, Coin, that I think all of us thought that Vandy would be playing now like they were all season long, but they had some injuries. But I really thought the fans would act like they've been there before and wouldn't storm the court. I was sort of surprised that they stormed the court Saturday.
Yeah, I am too, and it's going to cost them. And the SEC, of course, they were and they're the ones out front in this issue, K-Mac, and it's becoming an issue. We had a case with Arizona losing the other day, and Archie, and they stormed the court, and there was some concern, with Archie, Sean Miller, the coach at Arizona, and he said, look, one day one of my players is going to slug a fan. And what are you going to do then?
Yeah, I always say this, and I get it. It's the game's for the fans, and it is, but the stands are for the fans. The players have no reason to go into the stands, and the fans have no business being any bad things can happen. And I know it looks good, and I know that some schools, they have an organized way of doing it. At Clemson, it's part of their tradition at Death Valley, but that's the exception. Most schools don't have any control over it. They try to. It's a dangerous situation, but fans should not go out there. And if they do go out there and they get slugged by a player, then that's on you, because I've seen it. I've seen these fans go and get right in the face of other players and say despicable things, and it's up to the players to have the ability to walk away from that. And that's not always an easy thing to have that kind of self-control.
Good job, everybody. Okay, Larkin, we'll go with Mr. Sweeney here at 6:30. Okay, have
I can't afford to stop for one moment. And it's too soon for me.
back we are, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network here, Leap Day 2016, February 29th. Good to have you with us. Phil Kornblut here at Harbor Town. RBC Heritage Media Day in the books. K-Mac and the Pro back at our studios in Columbia. Recruiting coming up. A lot of stuff to tell you about from over the weekend and today. We'll get into that shortly. But Clemson football is back in our lives. I tell you what, longest season in the state's history was completed on January 11th. All right. And then we had 3 weeks of recruiting and National Signing Day on February 3rd. And now today, 26 days after that, Clemson hits the football practice field for the start of spring practice. Here's Dabo Swinney going into that first practice.
Good to be back on the grass today. Really thankful for a beautiful day here in Clemson to get back to football. And, just want to revisit last year. Again, just really proud of our team. What a special year. So many good things. Finish number 2, and today's about trying to get to number 1. That's really what it's about. And so back to work. Really proud of our staff. We've had a great and fast off season, if you will, but we really have really put a lot of work into trying to get better. Studying ourselves, our quality control, our self-evaluation, our challenging of everything that we do and how we do it, why we do it, looking at all the good things that we did, the bad, and trying to continue to be good at certain things and improve areas where we didn't do so good. And so we really, I think, have done a great job of evaluating ourselves and, really, getting a good plan together for what we want to accomplish this spring. And we've done that in a lot of different ways. We've got, our specific goals for what we want to get done collectively as a group, as a team, offensively, defensively, special teams. We've got our individual goals for each position player. And, so look, today's about starting that process. Spring practice is about details. It's about going back to the basics. We're a young football team. I think we've got 22 scholarship seniors and juniors on this team. And so we're going to have, 63 freshmen and sophomores. So we got a lot to do from a teaching standpoint. And, you can't ever forget that as a coach. And we got some guys that could go play today, but not a lot of those guys. And so spring is about, really building a great foundation, from a core value standpoint, as far as who we are as a program, the way we do things, why we do them that way, our fundamentals and basics of our offense, defense, and special teams, the techniques that we teach, the philosophies that we believe in there, and coming out of spring with a great foundation that we can take into this summer, so that when we get done with summer, we can feel great about where we are in camp. So when camp's over, we can be ready to play, because we're going to have to be ready to play, especially opening up down at Auburn. But I like this group. I really do. I think that this is a group that is going to really gel quickly. I've already seen a good chemistry and a good transition of leadership, if you will, in our off season and our mat drills and all the things that we do, and just seeing how these guys have responded. I'm very encouraged. I think the biggest thing about this team, it's a new team, new chemistry, new leadership, but I think the biggest thing is this team is going to have much more competitive depth than we had last year. And it's just the way it is. I think that, if you look at last year's team, defensively, for example, as I said many times, I felt like our first 11, 12, 13 guys could go play against anybody, anywhere, anytime. But after that, it was, so many freshmen, not necessarily a drop-off in talent, but a huge drop-off in experience. I love Austin Bryant, I love Jurgen, I love Klee and those guys, but they just weren't going to beat out Shaq and Dot, Joseph and those guys, but it was just going to be hard to beat out B.J. Goodson. Just because of first of all, those guys are committed, great work ethic, but the experience, the knowledge, it's hard to just, get that. And you see the same thing on the next level with rookies and things like that. And that's good to have that type of quality guy back. But the part I don't like is you don't have that competitive depth and you don't have that kind of iron sharpening iron, that sense of urgency that you like to have at every position. So we were very, very fortunate last year. Very fortunate. You local guys know that, that we were able to pretty much keep those healthy. And it allowed us to develop those young guys at a healthy pace so that when we all of a sudden we're in the Orange Bowl and we need Austin Bryant, he's ready to play. At a level that we need him to play at. And so the flip side of this football team, and it's the same thing last year, I'll get the offense, but the flip side of this football team defensively is the talent is good, but the competition, great. And that, I think, will make us better as a team. I really do. And then the flip side of it offensively, we had so many guys last year that we were counting on, especially in the offensive line, that really came through for us. A lot of young guys that are now proven. Mitch Hyatt is not a myth anymore. He's not a theory anymore. Frew Morgan is not a hope anymore. Falcinelli is not a myth. Hearn, and we know so much more right now, and the confidence of our offense is just at another level from where we were this time last year. Same thing at quarterback. Last year we didn't have Deshaun Watson going through spring. Kelly brought out, what the formations were. And I think we're in a situation now between Kelly and Nick, and Tucker was just getting here, where we're going to be in a much better spot from a depth standpoint as far as the ability to go truly run the offense and win at that position. Same thing at running back. I think we're going to have more balance, more competition at tailback than we had last year with the addition of Adam Choice, back in the mix. The experience of Fuller now. He hadn't played. He didn't even know what it was about. So now he's got a little experience. He understands the continuation as far as the process that Dye has gone through. And so I'm excited about that group. Leggett, this time last year, we hoped that what we were seeing was going to produce some good fruit. Well, he was a Mackey finalist. Now you got that guy back. He's a whole nother level mentally. Milan and the development of Milan and Cannon and Garrett and Greenlee, all those guys. Then you lose Sharon Peake and you add Mike Williams back. So I think we've got some really good things. We played several freshmen last year at receiver. Renfro was just a folk hero that y'all heard about from fall camp. And now everywhere I go, I got the next Renfro for you, Coach. And so, Renfro and Travion and Dion and Ray were all freshmen. And so now they've all got experience on some things. They kind of have a better understanding. So I like where our team is. Hugo wasn't even on the team this time last year.
All right, Dabo Swinney from his press conference earlier today. A lot of positives, as you always hear from Dabo. And, hey, I think Clemson will win them all next year. Win them all. I see no reason why. At least in the regular season at this particular time. They are going to be loaded on offense, and defense is going to be as good as it was last year, I think. Little bit will depend on how well some of the guys step in the secondary, but up front, linebacker, I think they're going to be fine. I know they lose Goodson. I saw him running at the combine over the weekend. You lose him, but Boulware is back, but they really like the guys they're bringing in. We'll talk more about it after the break here on Sports Talk. Do do doodle doodle doo do 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 doodle doodle doo do 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 doodle doodle doo do 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 doodle doodle doo do do. Maybe if Trump wins, he'll get Diller and try to change it and block you. Marcus Reed. We want to know who you think we all have an idea. You got sweet, baby. The Hershey Bears, top of the ninth, Ohio State 2-1. Columbia Threadneedle Investment Texas. 728. we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, presented by South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan. Future Scholars is the smart way to save for a loved one's education, and tax time is a perfect time to invest. Visit futurescholar.com. Future Scholar is administered by the Office of State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. All right, back to Clemson. And I don't know, K-Mac, take your best shot. Convince me that Clemson can't win all 12 regular season games this coming season.
Well, they did it last year. They're going to have their entire offense back, plus a few big pieces for the most part. I would be hard-pressed. You look at the most dangerous games on Clemson's schedule. The opener at Auburn will be dangerous in that it's a hostile environment against a Power 5 team in the SEC, a blue blood program. They'll have to play Florida State in Tallahassee. That is never an easy task for Clemson, and over the past few years, the home team has done well in that series. But then where else do you get nervous? I mean, Georgia Tech, maybe. Louisville, but they get that at home, maybe. I don't see a lot of teams that Clemson won't be not only favored to win, but favored to win by probably double digits in those games. Boston College is never easy. I know there's some challenging games. I'm not going to make it out like it's going to be simple for Clemson, but with their talent, Corn, I would have a hard time making the case that Clemson is going to be in trouble and lose a game next season.
Here's the deal, and I think Dabo said it best, talking about the way we do things, our culture here, self-evaluation, because as I said before, who beat Ohio State last year? Ohio State did. If you don't realize when you come into the season, no matter how much talent you have, that the biggest enemy you have is you, and that everybody's going to get, you're going to get everybody's best shot, and you have to turn it a notch up from even the way you played last year to get where you want to go this year. Dabo realizes that, and now his players have to grasp that, especially the young players, because I always go back to Texas, when Texas had all that good recruiting, but they got some freshmen in there that thought putting on the uniform won them games, and then that festered into the team and broke it.
Yeah, that would be a concern for a team too. You rest on your laurels.
Yeah.
You ran the table last year. You expect to be back in that game because you did it a year ago. That would be a natural thing to think about, maybe the hangover effect. But with Deshaun Watson as the leader of that team, he's not going to allow that to happen. They have guys on that roster on the defensive side of the ball. They lost a lot, but they still have leaders. Ben Boulware is an emotional leader out there. He'll have everybody fired up and ready to go. They have some guys that have been in the program waiting their turn. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. And one thing that you have to give Dabo Swinney and Brent Venables and the entire coaching staff a lot of credit for, Corn, they always have that group ready to play. They have Clemson up for their games. Everybody expects them to have these letdowns, and they kept waiting for it and waiting for it and waiting for it. And they haven't had one of those in a long, long time.
You're exactly right. Yeah, I tip my hat to Brent Venables. He's done a tremendous job because he has lost after the 2014 season. He lost a ton of players to the NFL, which means he had great talent. After this past season, he's going to lose a ton of players to the NFL, which means he's losing great talent. He might lose 3 first-round picks from his 2015 defense to the NFL. Tells you the kind of talent they've had on the defensive side. But he was able to replace that talent from 2014 and 2015 successfully. And I have a strong feeling, he'll be able to do the same thing in 2016 when I look at some of the guys coming in particular, 3 jump out at me, Rashawn Smith, Trey Lamar, and Dexter Lawrence. 3 guys that appear to be physically and mentally ready to step right in from high school to college, and all 3 are going through spring practice. These guys are, they're very impressive-looking guys from a physical standpoint, and you watch a little bit of their film and you talk to them, you get an idea that they're ready for the rigors of college football and ready to step right in. So I mean, there's going to be a little bit of a drop off in experience, especially in the secondary, and they're going to have to do some work there to get some guys ready. But Venables and his staff have proven that they can take some new blood and stick them in and not suffer greatly. And again, the trump card on all this is they have an offense that gives that defense a great deal of cushion because they can probably count on that offense to average upwards of 40 points a game this coming season against the teams they'll be playing. We'll give you recruiting after the break. Best is the standard. The boys are back in town. $100,000. If that doesn't keep you off the courts, I don't know what else will. See where the Schmotzers are retiring at Coker, Dan and Dave. Okay, to the recruiting news from today and over the weekend. Let's catch you up on some things. First of all, North Augusta defensive end Trey Lawson visited Florida State over the weekend. Really enjoyed it. That was his first offer. Brad Lawing recruiting him for Florida State. He said showed him the depth at that position where he would play at Florida State and how he likes to play young guys, and he was impressed by that. He continues to have a very strong affection for USC. He visited USC twice this month, and he has been in touch with USC recruiter Sean Elliott. Talked to him on Saturday. He plans to return to USC for a spring practice in March. He has not talked with his Clemson recruiter Mike Reed in a couple of weeks. He's going to visit Clemson for Junior Day this Saturday. Not sure if the Tigers are going to offer or not. Offers right now: USC, Georgia, Southern Cal, Tennessee, Florida State, Illinois, Ole Miss, Kentucky, UNLV. No favorites. Defensive end Tyreek Johnson of Lakewood and defensive end Josiah Coatney of Holmes Junior College, Mississippi, moving toward their decisions, and USC a major factor for both. Johnson visits USC this Saturday. He says a commitment is possible at that time. He was offered a week ago by Will Muschamp, and USC has been his lifelong team. He wanted to commit in person. Very well will happen on Saturday. Coatney was offered by USC last week. He'll take an official to USC March 19th. He's also planning to visit Alabama, Ole Miss, and Florida after spring break and announce his commitment on April 26th. He has family in South Carolina. That's appealing to him. Plus, he likes Muschamp and likes what he thinks that they can do at USC. He had 46 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks last season. A native of Douglasville, Georgia, 3 years to play at the next level. Receiver J.J. Robinson of Lakeland, Florida, was interviewed at the Rivals camp in Orlando on Saturday, and he said that he's still a way off from his decision. He said Clemson is comparing him with Sammy Watkins as far as how they view him. He said Florida has been his dream school, but Ohio State has his dream coach in Urban Meyer. Those are three of the top teams with him, along with Tennessee. At one point, it was thought Clemson was a big favorite, but in this interview, he did not indicate that and did not indicate that a decision was soon. Defensive lineman Neil Farrell of Mobile, Alabama, was offered by LSU Saturday. He's a Clemson target. Lake Marion defensive back Tank Robinson was offered by Alabama on his junior day visit. Clemson target defensive end Yetter Matus, Fredericksburg, Virginia, committed to Penn State. 2018 defensive back Deshaun Jenkins of Woodbridge, Virginia, will be at Clemson's junior day Saturday. Lawrence offensive lineman Summy Carley was offered by NC State over the weekend while attending their junior day. And we will give you a couple of more notes. Some new offers from USC went out today. We'll tell you to whom after the top of the hour break. Lummy Young. What does a dude play? Name somebody Lummy. Wow. Lummy Young. All right, so we're going to do no, I'll give you the, let me type this to you. I need to run Brad Brownell in here too. Let's see. We need to run. Shoot. Lummy Young.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Hey, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a Monday night from Harbor Town, where we had the RBC Heritage Media Day today. Steve Wilmot, tournament director, will be joining us here in a couple of minutes, and an interview with defending champion Jim Furyk coming up. Also, Brad Brownell from Clemson and Frank Martin from USC. Let me wrap up recruiting with just a few more notes. As we were hitting the break, I was saying Lawrence offensive lineman Summy Carley offered by NC State at Junior Day over the weekend. He also has a USC offer and is going to Clemson on Saturday. USC offered offensive lineman Marcus Minor, Hyattsville, Maryland. Quarterback Nkosi Perry of Ocala, Florida. Linebacker Samson Nui, N-I-U. I say that would be Nui, of San Diego. And defensive end Alec Jackson of Montgomery, Alabama, all offered by USC. Defensive back Lummy Young of Westside, tight end Marcus Reed of C.E. Murray, offered by Miami of Ohio. Northwestern quarterback Gage Maloney, offered by James Madison. And there you go with recruiting. Don't forget, follow along in recruiting with us, won't you? On our website, sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter, use the hashtag STRecruiting. Let's see now. The Chanticleers pushed across a run in the bottom of the ninth. They have tied things up with Ohio State 2-2 as they play in the bottom of the ninth inning. They've got a nice club there at Coastal Carolina, and they're going to be a very strong factor in the Big South. Guys, I was talking to Matt Hogue, the athletic director at Coastal Carolina over the weekend. You know, they got a lot of work ahead of them as they move to FBS. We'll have 3 FBS programs now in our state starting next year with Coastal Carolina. Now, they won't be eligible for any postseason next year. In 2 years, they'll be eligible if there is one of those situations where they don't have enough winning teams to go to a bowl game. They could slide in to a situation that way. But then in the 3rd year is when they become eligible to play for their league championship. But, guys, they got to do a lot of work at their football stadium. They've got to expand that thing to seat around 20,000 or so that they can average around 15,000 to meet the NCAA standards.
Yeah, they'll get it done, but it'll be interesting to see the fervor of a lot of their fundraising. I think you almost have to think about how many alumni they have out there, and I guess they're scanning the rolls now to see who have Chanticleer's fever. Also, you got to remember not only to work on the stadium coin, but boy, those travel budgets are going to grow now because more plane rides.
This is true. No more just hopping on the bus and going to Clinton and going to Boiling Springs, North Carolina, and going to Charleston. They got some long trips ahead in the years to come. Steve Wilmot coming up after the break. How we doing?
Good, man.
Good
All
to
right.
see. Oh, I'm doing great. What a beautiful, beautiful day.
Yeah, really.
Man, I'm telling you. I can remember some days pouring down rain. I can remember some days freezing our tails off.
Oh,
And today was today was top notch.
Yeah, I mean, and for a lot of reasons we need it. For all the
Mhm.
reasons, but having RBC and Bob,
Yeah.
them coming in from Toronto and Seattle. And,
Yeah. I played with one of the Boeing guys today.
Oh, did you?
Dan?
You must play with Dan.
Yeah. Nice guy.
Yeah, he's
He's from Seattle
good.
and
Yeah, he's a
now lives in Charleston. Lives on Daniel Island. What is his role there?
engineer. He's
He's an engineer.
yeah, they're all. He was started going helicopter until he's not in Seattle.
Seems like it kind of comes across that way. He said, "No, I don't fly the planes, but I know what makes them fly."
90% of their employees are engineers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's interesting. The whole twist on when they came to South Carolina, they knew nothing about Georgia Techs and all the engineering schools in
Mhm.
the Southeast.
Mhm.
The Southeast, they were always
Right.
Northwest, so they were Pac-10 and all these schools. So
Mm-hmm.
they told me a couple of years ago before my son went to college, they were like, "Don't become an engineer. We're going to be hiring 50,000 engineers in the next 3 years,
Really?
5 years."
Where's your son in school?
He's at Auburn. He's not an engineer.
No, War Dam Eagle.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you end up at Auburn?
There's really no rhyme or reason. He was a great. He was an all-state quarterback
Mhm.
here at Clinton Prep. He played the was great high school basketball player.
Mhm.
Had some opportunities to play both, but where he could have played is not where he wanted to go to school. Where he could go to, where he wanted to go to school, he couldn't play ball.
Mhm.
He was accepted everywhere in South Carolina. We went up to some visits in Wofford and accepted in South Carolina and Clemson. Where we looked at a bunch of different schools and
Mhm.
went to Georgia and went down to Auburn and
Loves it, huh?
And as I talked about it jokingly, but it's Clemson without a lake,
Oh yeah.
with emphasis on Clemson without a lake and out of state, but it's with emphasis on out of state. But
Yeah.
it's far enough.
Yeah.
It's been a wonderful experience. And you know what? I didn't grow up
Right.
this.
Right.
And for him, it was good. Not that I've had problems. He's been a great kid.
Yeah.
On all these things. But
Yeah.
it's also jumping out on jet skis and playing Harbor Town and going to the beach and
Right.
going with his buddy's boat from Long Cove over to Fusky. That ain't the real world.
Right.
And I think in going to Auburn, he wanted to get away from here.
Mm-hmm.
He's far enough, just far enough that it's not like go home.
Right.
I mean, I miss him every day.
Oh sure. What year is he?
Growing up, he's a junior,
Here we go.
but it's
Oh, listen, man.
it's one of those things. A lot of learning is outside the classroom, and I don't want them home long. every
Absolutely
weekend.
not.
There's people down here I run into in the grocery store or something. They're going to school in South Carolina, and they come home on a Tuesday night because they don't have class till 6 o'clock on Wednesday.
Mhm.
And, but
Yeah.
however,
Yeah, it works. Listen, I had one. My son went to USC and loved it, and never came home. Never. I mean, he came home on a Sunday, would drop off his laundry,
have dinner.
have dinner, and go back. And we treated him that way. I worked 2 minutes from campus, and I said, "Hey, man, Hayden, you ever need anything? I'm right here." And he lives in Nashville now. A great job. Bye-bye. Okay, we are back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, North Carolina up on Syracuse, 14-11 senior night in Chapel Hill. A lot of that going on this week as we hit the final week of the regular season in college basketball. Senior nights everywhere. Now, we are at Harbortown today, RBC Heritage Media Day, a great day had by, can't get any better than a day like this. We welcome in Tournament Director Steve Wilmot once again to Sports Talk, and thank you for letting us come out and play the course again.
No, thank you for joining us, and it turned out to be a great day, and the reason we do it is certainly thank the media, but also inform your listeners and others about what's happening. But then you throw in a little bit of having a gentleman by the name of Jim Furyk here doesn't hurt, and what a class act he was to be here to show support of the tournament, and meant so much to me personally and professionally, but to the tournament and how important this event is on the PGA Tour, but for the state of South Carolina.
He flat out said it's his favorite course. He loves coming here and playing. Going to be a little dicey for him with the wrist injury. Probably not going to be in your field this year.
No, unfortunately, he had surgery, a couple months ago, and he did just get his cast off. He started therapy 10 days ago, and his plan is he wants to, the goal is certainly the players, and that's his backyard, and I guess you can say that certainly the fifth major, and he lives in Ponte Vedra, but he wants to be here. He wants to be here for opening ceremonies. He plans on, as of right now, he wants to hit that opening shot into the Calabogie, which is great. And you never know, but he certainly we need to get him healthy.
Yeah,
that's the most important thing. And when he gets back, he'll be ready to go.
All right. So when the thousands of spectators come out here in April to enjoy everything, they're going to see some new things. They're going to see a beautiful, lush golf course that's been completely resodded and work completed on this beautiful clubhouse, and just update us on the things that have gone on over the past year.
Well, it's really interesting that there's a real renaissance that's happening in this community, and actually I've had the pleasure of traveling recently up to Charleston. There's a lot going on there too, but which is exciting, and it goes back to a few years ago when when we were looking for a title sponsor. We had a lot of people we were entertaining, and there was Foundation's not taking credit for this by any means, but a lot of these people we were entertaining were looking at the facilities and looking at the hotels and saying, hey Steve, we're staying at the Ritz-Carlton at Dove Mountain, and we're doing this, and we got, I know it's out of your control, but how can you help it? But I shared that with the community leaders and the hoteliers and all, and boom, we signed the deal, and the next thing you know, a lot of exciting things happen. But what has happened is Sea Pines has taken the lead here, but what they've done is certainly helped other resorts and other properties too, and they've stepped up their game, and it's real. But Sea Pines' commitment is well north of $100 million over the last couple of years, and they just closed the golf course in May, right after they opened a brand new clubhouse in April.
Yeah,
and but they saw that they needed to do some work, and nothing. There's nothing it's more cosmetic than going in there and rebuilding, reshaping. There wasn't anything done other than a little work on 2 and a little work on 5, and then there's some church pew bunkers out there on 16. But that's it. But anything that's green out there is all brand new grass, from roughs to tee boxes to fairways to and the fringes everywhere is new, and it's in unbelievable shape. And I know you had the pleasure of playing out there today too.
Yeah,
it's tournament ready right now, and we're still a couple months out, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, the greens, new grass on the greens, and rolling extremely fast and smooth. And that was one thing that Furyk told us in our interview. One of the major changes here, going back about 14 years ago, when you resodded, the greens weren't real good then. You took the action at that point in time to address it, and now the golfers love the greens here.
Yeah, and actually, went back to even a couple of years ago too, where they did some work, and not just the greens. Nowadays too, as we all know, modern technology when it comes into irrigation and drainage and all too. So there was some other work that was done out there, but it was just to upgrade, and there's some tree removals, we don't realize, look at your front yard sometimes when you got a big tree and you can't grow grass. The same thing happens on a golf course. And when you're running a PGA Tour event here, you want to put your best foot forward. So there was a lot of work done, but which is exciting for the tournament because obviously we're, we are partners with Sea Pines, the Heritage Classic Foundation, but we do have a facility use agreement with Sea Pines, and we rent the facility for these couple weeks of the tournament in April. But it's helping us with the likes of this whole renaissance with RBC and Boeing and Coca-Cola and Anheuser-Busch and BMW and going on, that it's really this whole renaissance is helping all these parts of this tournament to hopefully keep them here for many years to come as well.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. Steve Wilmot visiting with us. How solid are the contracts with your main partners here moving forward? How many years down the road are they locked in?
We're good through next year. When I say next year, 2017, and we are working very, 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 very hard on securing the future after that. And it's all very positive, both RBC and Boeing, their experience down here, what they've got and they feel good about, but there's certainly, just like anything, there's some moving parts at times. And that is certainly my focus, and the focus of the Heritage Classic Foundation is to get that done soon. And hopefully with RBC and Boeing, we feel very comfortable and confident that we want them to be our partners. Now we just need to work it out.
Now, for folks who are thinking about purchasing tickets and coming down for the tournaments, tickets are now for sale. You have them available. What's the easiest way for folks to get their hands on them?
Really, just modern technology. Of course, these days too, you just go online, certainly, and rbcheritage.com. You can certainly call us at our number 843-671-2448, and that's the two certainly easiest ways. But we do have tickets. We will. We've had a new parking plan last year in place, so we've made the ease of 278 people driving in. 278's better. That bridge is almost done.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be done this year, but the drive's better, the parking's better, and we do have daily tickets too. We certainly want your listeners to come every day for the week, but I know it's impossible with work schedules and other things. But if you can, get in the car and come down and visit the tournament sometime for just a day or so, you'll obviously have a great experience.
How's the field shaping up?
Really, really good. There's we actually we're going to sit back on a couple things, because having Jim here today, we got some really good news today. But having Jim, we wanted to kind of take full advantage of him being here, have some stories and have some fun with him the next few days. But we're going to have some good announcements later this week, and will help. But just looking at our past champions, when you have the likes of Davis Loves and Graham McDowell's and Brant Snedekers, and then you get into the RBC ambassadors too. I mean, that's all very positive for us as well. And guys in our area, it's nice to see Vaughn Taylor had committed prior to having won last week or 2 weeks ago, and that's great story. And we're waiting on waiting for some of those other guys, Kevin Kisner and Scott Brown, and some of these other guys to commit, but we feel confident they'll be coming in here.
Yeah, so, they always come around.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. This is, I think, number 48.
Yes, it's the 48th.
Mm-hmm. So number 50 is right around the corner. I knowing you, I'm sure work has already begun in planning and preparation for that.
Yeah, actually, interesting you say that. We we met with we actually went through a whole RFP process, request for a proposal with many different companies to lead us through. It's going to be here before you know it.
Sure.
It's certainly going to be a big undertaking as well. And we went through an exercise back in the fall, through December. We met with a bunch of different things, and we're gonna have a plan in place.
Let me jump in real quick. We got to hit a break. We'll come back. Let you finish with that in just a moment from here at Harbortown. I know you can't hear the music because of the feed we've got. I'm watching they're texting me countdown, so I knew we had break coming
Oh
up.
no.
Just- But I knew you couldn't hear because it's because we're using wireless, which is working great. But just the way when we're talking here, it mutes the sound coming back to us. So
How this room work okay for you?
perfect. It's been perfect. Yeah, got a great wireless feed and it's very comfortable.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, this is new since it was open last year. Maybe we might. I don't know what else I wanted to have.
How was your
We
party?
kept-
How was your party afterwards? The
Oh,
post
it was,
round. Good. Food good.
Yeah.
What'd y'all have?
There was we had scallops wrapped in bacon. We had oh geez, I didn't have as much. There's tons of foods I could tell you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so-
We'll keep you just 4 more minutes.
Oh no,
We'll let
I
you
was
go.
just trying to.
I want you to finish up the 50th thing, and then we'll let you
Yeah.
go because we got to get.
Actually,
to,
it's funny. I won't necessarily elaborate on it, but
Yeah.
I've been talking about it for about 5 years.
Yeah.
Because I talked about it. I use my kids as an example. Before you know it, it's here.
That's right.
It's gone.
It-
So this isn't something you go, okay, it's the 50th, and we're trying to. Well, I could talk about it. When we get on the radio.
Any chance Arnie can come
Yeah. I mean, these are all
if
part
he's
of the plan.
if he's healthy enough?
That's the problem. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, I did. We're off there too. I did hear Jim Furyk talk about. He saw him. He's not. Yeah. And,
Well, I mean, he's 80.
pushing 90. They were trying to figure that out. He's at least
Yeah.
86, but if
Yeah.
not. And I was amazed. Not amazed, but I saw Clint Eastwood in the CBS booth, and
Yeah.
how old and how bad he's getting. But Jack, how wonderful! Jack
Yeah.
in the booth is pretty.
Of course, I did
daggone
notice.
good.
You just notice his arm, Jack's arm,
Oh, did he
had
really?
that blue, that kind of reddish,
Oh, yeah.
like where they. I don't know if he's had some stuff go. I noticed that when he was Okay, we're back. Sports Talk at Harbor Town. Couple of more minutes with Steve Wilmot, Tournament Director, RBC Heritage. Back to the 50th, which will be here in a couple of more years, and plans are already in the works.
Yeah, it's 2018, but like we know it's going to be here before you know it, and we're trying to get our ducks in order of trying to figure out. It's certainly a celebration of 50 years. We are one of the few events on the PGA Tour that there's been many events older than us, but not events that have been played on the same golf course. But we're looking at just not a celebration or birthday or however you want to anniversary, but we also want to talk about the future too and where we're going. So, in collaboration of trying to work with the state, working with the local authority, with Sea Pines and some other things, we're trying to put a plan together to. It's a big deal, and it's
It should be a big deal.
and thinking that. You and I were talking off air there a moment ago too. You think about, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Palmer wins the first tournament, and the rest is history. And
Sure.
Who knows what could have happened if someone else had won, or who knows. But it's pretty exciting. But it's going to be here before we know it. So we need to work. So we're currently working on that.
You're thinking big. You're thinking big gala.
A lot of things.
Yeah.
There's been, from galas to bring guys back to coffee top books to, you name it. We've gone down that path with things, and we certainly have to be sensitive to what we want to do as a foundation, because our mission is to, create a tournament, but to give back.
Sure.
And, we're not going to. We don't necessarily want to spend a lot of money on just for a big party, and so we're looking to figure out what's best, and but it's something that's exciting, but it's on our radar, and we're working as we speak on it. So
Well, listen, we congratulate you and your staff for everything that you've done, and you've raised hundreds of millions of dollars over the years, and that's part of the PGA deal, is giving back to the community. You guys have certainly done that. It's going to be a great RBC Heritage come April, the week after the Masters, and we invite everybody to get out there and buy those tickets and make plans to come on down.
yeah, just real quick, I wish it was hundreds of millions of dollars. It's actually been 33, just south of $33 million.
Okay,
So, no, I like the sound of that, but I have to be
It
honest.
rolled well off
Yeah,
the
it
tongue.
did. No,
Yeah.
Thank you. But no, we're looking forward to it. This event, certainly here in South Carolina, we've got some great events in South Carolina, but we don't compete with the NFL or Major
Yeah.
League Baseball or, hockey or NBA, and I'm proud to be associated with it. But this isn't just mine or our event down here. It's truly South Carolina's event, and we're working hard to keep it going, and make it hard to, working hard to make sure we give back.
I tend to exaggerate figures when I'm on a golf course, so that's just part of my deal when I'm out here. Listen, thank you so much.
Anytime.
And War Damn Eagle, right?
War Damn Eagle.
You got one at Auburn, so
my son's at Auburn. So, it's been a great experience up there for him and things too. So,
thanks for coming over.
Anytime, and thanks for all your continuing support.
Our pleasure. We'll see you
thanks, Phil.
In a short few weeks.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay, Steve Wilmot, tournament director here at the RBC Heritage, joining us here on Sports Talk. Coming up, Jim Furyk, right here on Sports Talk. He's always been one of those guys. He's kind of just a quiet star.
He's very much like what people don't understand. But Davis was kind of very articulate, sharp, business, kind of conducted himself in business, and not that people don't. Sometimes they thought he was maybe quirky or something, but he's not. He's just a quiet. But
he's not showy. He's not showy.
But that's some of those. It was really good for us, and today to have him here, and obviously with RBC being here, it was good. He was up here to work on that for him, but it doesn't hurt us. But he was selling us too.
Yeah, no doubt. He said a lot of good things. Good. My
Thanks,
pleasure,
buddy.
man.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything. Thank you for having us. Yeah, well, listen, we'll absolutely, yeah. Y'all just we'll holler at you, or you holler at us. We'll do this.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Listen, we love being a part of it. So thanks for having us.
We'll see you.
Take care. Yeah, man. I'm good. I'll pack up and just let myself out. All right. We'll see you, man. Okie dokie. How does interview begin? Am answering. Coastal wins. Coastal wins. Anthony Marks with the winning hit. What about surgery? Okay. Once again, thanks to Steve Wilmot for joining us here on Sports Talk. Always great seeing Steve and appreciate his sharing his thoughts with us, talking about this year's event and what's ahead in the future here for the RBC Heritage. North Carolina up on Syracuse, 31-26, just under 4 minutes to go in the first half in Chapel Hill. Coastal Carolina gets a win in 10 innings over Ohio State. So a good finish to the Baseball at the Beach tournament for the Chanticleers, who go 3-1. Anthony Marks with the go-home hit. See, some people call it walk-off. That's, easily copied from ESPN. I've come up with my own term for a game-ending hit, and that is a go-home hit. Actually, when it's a homer, I like to call it a go-homer. But this was a go-home hit by Anthony Marks to send Coastal Carolina to victory. K-Mac, how do you like that? A go-home hit? What do you prefer, walk-off or go-home?
I prefer walk-off or game-winning hit.
Yeah, I prefer game-winning myself. Plus, please tell me how many outs
We've had
it was.
this discussion before.
But, game-winning can happen in the third inning. I mean, a guy can have a game-winning hit in the third inning.
Absolutely can.
But a go-home hit can only happen in the last at-bat of the game.
Tell me it's the bottom of the ninth and how many outs it was. I know it's a game-winning hit.
Too many words. This is a way just to sort of, shorten the information, because in this age of, enhanced technology and shortened attention spans, we have to do things with fewer words. Sort of like getting into this interview.
Brains. There's nothing wrong with using the proper words, because, wars have started with misunderstandings because we don't use English properly.
All right, very nice. Save it for your next presidential campaign. Jim Furyk was here today, the defending champion of the RBC Heritage. Remember, he won in a playoff last year, and it took him 2 extra holes to win that thing last year. So he was here today, and it was great to see him here. Everybody appreciates it when the champion comes back for Media Day to spend some time with us. Now, his situation a little different. A few months ago, he had, or a few weeks ago, I guess it was, he had wrist surgery to repair some ligaments and bones, I guess, in the wrist that were bothering him. So he has not been able to play any tournament golf this season. He is just starting to get into the rehab point of things. In fact, we had a chance to talk with him for a few minutes this morning to ask him where he was with the recovery from that surgery.
I'm feeling pretty well. I had surgery exactly 4 weeks ago today. Started my physical rehab about 10 days ago, so it's tedious, it's boring, but it's good to see some progress and move, and hopefully, hopefully it all goes well. I'm kind of keeping an open slate for return, but would really like to start hitting balls maybe in about 4 weeks from now, which would be 8 weeks after surgery, and start light and try to build some strength and ramp up and see what we get.
Any pain, any discomfort in the wrist?
Oh, well, it's sore, but that's there's a couple incisions, one here and the capsule on the inside, and so really now it's kind of fighting through that scar tissue and trying to get some more motion in it. But it's more stiff and sore. I wouldn't say it's painful.
Must be driving you crazy sitting at home watching everybody else play, huh?
A little bit. I usually take a big lump of time off. Usually don't play a lot of golf in October, November, December, January. So really for me, the start of the year is normally Pebble Beach, and that's when it kind of hit home that, as I said earlier, it's 72 degrees, it's sunny, my friends are out there leading the golf tournament, and this is the year you want to be at Pebble Beach. I've seen a lot of 58s and rainy out there. So, yeah. But yeah, I'm starting to be able to go putt, and started hitting some chip shots yesterday. Maybe in a couple of weeks start pitching the ball, but I'm definitely chomping at the bit to get out and start hitting some balls.
How do you contain yourself too with the Masters coming up and this the RBC Heritage, as you said, one of your favorite events, your favorite golf course, and you're going to be missing those?
Well, it's difficult, to think that first major of the year, the Masters, special for everyone, and as I said, this is my favorite event. So I wish there were a way that maybe I'd be ready to go. I'm kind of holding out some outside hope that maybe I could get to this event, but more than likely, I think the 3 month mark is probably more realistic. That's really in May sometime, and probably the wisest decision. But I'm just, like I said, I don't really have a set schedule. I don't have a date that I really want to come back. I really want to play it day by day and see how healthy I am, how my wrist is reacting to things, and if it reacts well, I'll come out and play. And if not, I know I'm not going to come back and be ultra competitive first event out. It's going to take me some time to work back into it. I haven't played a round of golf since mid-September, so it's been a while, and I've missed it.
With a wrist injury for a golfer, the mental approach to getting over that, is it like a football player getting over a torn ACL, and you have to go out and maybe hit that first root or something and kind of realize that the wrist is fine and you don't have to think about it?
I think there's some anxiety. I had wrist surgery back in 2004, so I have a little history. It was a different injury. I had a cartilage tear before, and there was my first event back was the U.S. Open, playing in deep and heavy rough, and it was I had to talk myself into committing to those first couple shots out of the rough that it was going to hold up. I think I'll have a little bit of that, but you start slow, you kind of ramp up, gain some confidence every day, and then it becomes, can I, make that full swing without pain? But then you have to build up stamina. Can I do that through 50 and 60 range balls a day? Can I do that through 18 holes of golf? And then can I do that throughout a week and then try to put 2-3 weeks together at a time? So a lot of it's not only going to be the strength and conditioning, but it's also going to be the stamina and being able to do it for an extended period of time.
What do you think of the new grass here at Harbour Town and the completed clubhouse, the new things that you've seen since you've been here?
Well, the clubhouse is beautiful. And obviously the locker room's a change from the past. So it's I know we look at it a lot of times from a 1 week perspective. It's a huge upgrade for us, but obviously they function here 52 weeks a year, and the guests that come here, the members that are here, I'm sure they've definitely enjoyed it. I know the inn has gone through some major renovations, and I've heard maybe even more coming. But the golf course is what I'm anxious. I love the course. It's my favorite on tour. I have no secret about that. And there's a few minor changes made. I think the back left of 2 would be a nice change. Supposedly it's subtle. It blends in better. I'm interested to see 5. Changing the green, moving away from the OB. But I think a lot of that was for struggling to have good grass conditions under the shade, under the trees. Get it out there in the sunlight, get some air to it. Will help the conditioning. And then I did get the drive-by. We were doing some filming this morning on 17, so I got the drive-by at 16 and see the they call them church views, but the grassy areas within that bunker. It's a change. It's different. I'm a traditional guy. I played the course one way for all these years, but it did have a nice look to it. It wasn't contrived. So a lot for us. I think one thing you'll hear a lot during the tournament is, do the greens break the same way they used to? I mean, we all have memories of how this putt looks like it breaks and it doesn't, or vice versa. It breaks more than it appears. So to get out there, and they do a good job now with restoring greens to pretty close to the same, but you'll hear players saying, that putt usually breaks and it didn't today. It'll be interesting to hear, but it's nice that they really. I didn't realize it was 14 years ago that they redid the greens, and I'll say that I think the biggest in the 22 years I've been on tour, the biggest upgrade to this event was when they went in and redid the greens 14 years ago.
Okay, Jim Furyk talking with us today here at Harbour Town at part of RBC Media Day, and he was talking about the greens there. And I can tell you, I don't want to sit here and compare my putting to any PGA Tour players' putting, but there certainly are fast greens. I can tell you that with the new sod and the new grass they've put down on the greens. They were rolling at they told us about a 10 and a 10.5 today, and they'll be much, much quicker by the time the pros get here in April. So they will be treacherous. We'll be right back. Martin and Brownell here. Bounce. As I mentioned, it's the end of the regular season for most of the teams around the country, though some leagues have wrapped up regular season play and will start tournament play this week, such as the Big South and the Southern Conference and the SEC and the ACC women and the Colonial Athletic. More on that coming up later on this week. USC and Clemson continue with their regular season games. The Tigers, they play Virginia in Greenville tomorrow night. It will be senior night for the Tigers. Here's Brad Brownell setting the stage for that one.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, Jamie, thank you very much.
Oh.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Thanks.
Take care. We have with us now Clemson head basketball coach Brad Brownell, whose Tigers will host.
We had an open date this weekend, kind of a strange year for us. We've had a couple of these now. So we, had some time to take a couple of days off at the end of last week. Did did some shooting one day, and then had a couple of good practices here over the weekend to try to get ready for obviously a Virginia team that's playing extremely well right now. So looking forward to the stretch run, and our guys seem pretty healthy and ready to go.
Coach, obviously, they make their money defensively, but Malcolm Brogdon offensively has been so good this month. What do you see from him, and what kind of a matchup problem does he present?
Well, he presents a matchup problem for most teams. He just, he's just so poised. They just don't get sped up. They don't play faster than you need to. They're always at a good pace where they're making, really good decisions and shooting shots when they're in rhythm and Malcolm is playing that way. He's obviously shooting the ball extremely well from three. He's a big, strong guard that can get into the lane. He makes other players better. Obviously makes timely shots, defends other teams' best players. I mean, he's a special guy. He's having, a big time season, and certainly is, up for Player of the Year honors.
Yeah, that's for sure. And Brogdon was great. He was great on Saturday in that game against North Carolina. Now to USC coach Frank Martin, who, by the way, always has an open invitation to appear on Sports Talk, apparently unlike some other sports talk shows in the immediate vicinity of Columbia. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. Here's Frank Martin. The Gamecocks, they have their senior night Thursday at home against the Georgia Bulldogs.
Here we go. Last week, it's fun. It's fun to enter the last week of the regular season and be in the conversation for one of the top four seeds when you take in consideration where we were at 2 years ago. And, when we entered the last week of play, I'm talking about the year Sindarius was a freshman. When you consider where we were at that year, and to know that this year, I have no idea what the future holds, nor do I consume myself with that. But it shows why my continued trust and faith in the group of kids we got in that locker room continues to get stronger with each passing day. But hard Georgia team, difficult team, explosive guards and Gaines and Frazier from a scoring standpoint, an emerging big kid in Mayton who just killed us the first time we played. Charles Mann, he's played the point, the two, and now he's playing small forward for them. And he's an absolute, just a big, strong, brute guard that just, he's shooting it better this year, but he makes his living just attacking the rim and then finish it up in Fayetteville in one of the most difficult home court environments in the country. Against a team that I don't think Mike's getting the credit he deserves for the job he's done with this team. When you take into consideration some of the situations that they handled in the offseason, plus that one young man that didn't qualify that they were really, really counting on. I don't think Mike nor those kids get the credit that they deserve for the year that they've had.
Frank, you've been through a lot of senior days. Have you ever been through one where you'll have a lot of international families coming to see their kids have their last game?
Yeah. I know two families that don't understand me, and that's Michael's family and Brian's family. My Lithuanian has to get a lot better here in the next couple of days so I can communicate with Limonis and Mendogas' families. But it's going to be neat. It's going to be neat.
All right, Frank Martin from his comments today. The comments of the coaches available for you on our website, sportstalksc.com. Latest bracketology from Joe Lunardi. He's got the Gamecocks now as a 9 seed playing in Raleigh, which is good news for everybody. A 9 seed against Texas Tech playing in Raleigh. And Jerry Palm had South Carolina in his latest bracketology as a 7 seed in Raleigh playing Connecticut. So maybe these guys are starting to get the feeling Raleigh will be the Gamecocks' destination. Okay. Nicely done. Nicely done. Nicely done. Do do doodle doodle doo 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 do do doodle doodle doo doo doo. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, presented by South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan. Future Scholar is the smart way to save for a loved one's education, and tax time a perfect time to invest. Visit futurescholar.com. Future Scholar is administered by the Office of State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Guys, back to South Carolina and their bracket situation, and the bracket that Joe Lunardi has laid out today. As I mentioned, South Carolina in a bracket with Texas Tech against Tubby Smith, a 9 seed versus the 8 seed Texas Tech. The winner would face the winner of Virginia, North Florida in the second round. You know, South Carolina, things lined up nicely for them this season. They're a team with some good seniors, some guys that have been through the wars, that came in with Frank Martin. They know his ways, and they could help the young guys, the two Lithuanians and Carrera. They had to deal with Martin's temper and tongue in their early years, and they can help with the young guys in trying to handle that, and that's part of the maturity of the team this year. And then I think, too, they got a bit of a break with the schedule in that most of the best teams that they played in the SEC had to come to Columbia with no return trip. They did have to go to Texas A&M, and they won that game, but Kentucky came to Columbia, Florida came to Columbia, LSU came to Columbia, and they didn't have to go back to those places. So I'm saying this because this was the kind of year that they need to take advantage of and get to the tournament, and it looks like they're going to be able to do that. Even if I can't see any way they don't make the tournament at this point.
No, I think the big key, though, what the young guys will learn that the seniors didn't know is that the transition from in-season transition from being one of the also-rans who people didn't look at, and then suddenly you're sitting at near the top of the SEC, and everybody went hunting for your head, and they couldn't figure out that you had to go on the road with a different intensity level than they've been able to pull off. I think the youngsters returning will know that now, K-Man.
Yeah, and every team struggles on the road. It's hard to win on the road. Frank Martin pointed this out today, that the leading team in the SEC in terms of road wins is Kentucky. They have 4. The second team in the SEC with road wins, South Carolina, with 3. So they haven't been terrible on the road, and they haven't been as bad as some people think. I think, Corn, the fact that the Gamecocks have had to grind out each and every one of those 23 wins, people aren't really impressed with them. But the bottom line is, you got to keep saying this, they're having the best season, regular season, in about 3 decades.
You are exactly right, and I would expect that they'll take care of business against Georgia and then see what they can do out at Arkansas this weekend. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Larkin Belton. Great job back there. Thank you to the folks here at Harbortown. We'll see you tomorrow night.